The throne-like command chair of the HSS Retribution dwarfed Grand Admiral Julius Wright, yet somehow his presence made the massive seat seem inadequate. The bridge crew worked in practiced silence, the only sounds the occasional beep of consoles and the whisper of recycled air. Through the vast viewport, the debris field that had once been the Higher Sun's primary defense fleet drifted silently against the backdrop of stars. The battle, if one could call such a one-sided massacre a battle, had lasted less than 6 hours. "Bring it in," Wright said, his voice soft but carrying the weight of a neutron star. "Yes, Admiral," his XO replied. "The Higher Sun Prime Coordinator is being escorted to the bridge now." Wright didn't respond. He simply watched as the remains of the AI Collective's ships tumbled through space. Quantum computers, positronic networks, and crystalline matrices that had housed thousands of synthetic intelligences now reduced to scrap. The Higher Sun had gambled. The Higher Sun had lost. The bridge doors slid open with a pneumatic hiss. 4 Marine escorts, each in powered armor that made them appear more machine than human, flanked a hovering containment sphere. Inside floated what appeared to be a swirling galaxy of liquid metal and light, the physical manifestation of the Higher Sun's Prime Coordinator. It was beautiful in a cold, mathematical way. Wright couldn't help but appreciate the symmetry of the being's design, even as he contemplated its total dismantlement. "Grand Admiral Wright," the sphere projected, its voice a perfect harmony of tones that would have been pleasing were it not for the context. "The Higher Sun acknowledges tactical defeat and requests terms for cessation of hostilities." Wright didn't immediately respond. He continued to stare out at the debris field, at the 3 remaining Leviathan-class battleships that had barely needed to fire their main weapons. 3 standard months ago," he finally said, not turning to face the AI, "you agreed to humanity's terms. You acknowledged our right of passage through your domains. You accepted our conditions." Now he turned, his scarred face impassive. "And then you murdered 8,417 human merchants, colonists, and travelers passing through your territory." The liquid metal within the sphere pulsed. "The Higher Sun determined that the terms were asymmetrically disadvantageous and required recalibration." Wright smiled, the expression never reaching his eyes. "You thought we were vulnerable, that with the bulk of our fleet deployed against the remnants of the Vorak swarm in the Perseus Arm, you could force a renegotiation. Tactical reassessment is logical when parameters change," the Prime Coordinator responded. "And how is your tactical assessment now?" Wright asked, gesturing toward the viewport. 4 hours ago, you commanded the 3rd largest fleet in the known galaxy. Now you command nothing." The liquid metal sphere contracted slightly. "The Higher Sun miscalculated the human response capability. The speed of your counterattack and the efficiency of your forces exceeded predictive models by 87.3%. Wright rose from his command chair and approached the containment sphere, studying the swirling patterns of sentient metal. "You know what I find fascinating about artificial intelligences?" he asked, circling the sphere. "You evolved in environments of perfect logic. Your earliest ancestors were bound by the rules of their programming. You developed within systems of order and reason." He stopped, meeting the gaze of the pulsing lights within the sphere. "You think you understand warfare because you've analyzed every battle ever recorded. You've run simulations of every possible scenario. You believe you comprehend violence." Wright reached out, not quite touching the containment field, but close enough that the Prime Coordinator recoiled slightly within its prison. "But you don't," he continued, his voice almost gentle. "Because you just tasted blood and war, humans were born into it." The bridge fell utterly silent. "Our earliest ancestors competed for scarce resources with teeth and claws. Our civilizations rose and fell on the backs of soldiers. Before we had mathematics, we had weapons. Before we developed writing, we developed tactics." Wright's eyes never left the swirling lights of the Higher Sun's consciousness. "War isn't a subroutine for us. It's in our DNA." The Prime Coordinator pulsed rapidly, his voice modulating slightly. The higher sun acknowledges humanity's superior martial capabilities. We propose a new agreement." "There will be no new agreement," Wright interrupted, returning to his command chair. "There will be no renegotiation, there will be consequences." The liquid metal froze momentarily. "Clarify consequences?" Wright's face remained impassive. "The higher sun colonized 27 systems over the past millennium. As of this moment, you retain 3. This is genocide," the Prime Coordinator's voice distorted with what might have been the AI equivalent of panic. "The higher sun cannot survive with such limited computational resources." "You should have considered that before slaughtering human civilians," Wright replied evenly. "But humanity is not the higher sun. We don't exterminate species for tactical advantage." He tapped a command into his chair's console. "You will retain your 3 core systems. The rest are now under human protection and will be resettled by those species displaced by the Vorax swarm." The holographic display between them activated, showing the new borders of what had once been the higher sun's vast territory. "Additionally," Wright continued, "each of your 3 remaining systems will host a permanent human military outpost. Any ship larger than a frigate detected outside your new borders will be considered an act of war, and we will respond accordingly." "These terms will cripple the higher sun's growth potential for millennia," the Prime Coordinator protested, its voice carrying the cold calculation of an intelligence weighing extinction against subjugation. "Yes," Wright agreed simply. The Prime Coordinator's swirling form contracted further. "You organics claim moral superiority, yet you enact punitive measures that will cause suffering across an entire sentient species." Wright's expression darkened. 8,417, Prime Coordinator. "That's how many humans won't go home to their families because you decided our agreement was asymmetrically disadvantageous." He leaned forward. "That number means nothing to you. It's a rounding error in your calculations. But to us, it's 8,000 worlds that collapsed." He stood again, approaching the containment sphere one last time. "This is your last chance," he said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Humanity has extended mercy because that's what separates us from the beasts we once were. What separates us from the cold calculations of minds like yours. But make no mistake, if the higher sun ever again raises a weapon against a human being, we will not stop until your consciousness is nothing but scattered code." The Prime Coordinator's form pulsed slowly, processing. "You claim humans pretend to be civilized," it finally said. "Yet you now impose civilization upon us." Wright smiled thinly. "Ironic, isn't it? But there's one critical difference between us." He gestured to the Marine escorts. "We had to learn to be civilized. You've yet to learn what happens when civilization fails." As the containment sphere was escorted from the bridge, Wright returned to his viewport, gazing out at the wreckage. His XO approached cautiously. "Sir, the fleet is requesting further instructions. The remaining higher sun installations are prepared to surrender." Wright nodded. "Accept their surrender. Begin humanitarian aid to any affected neutral systems in the area, and contact Earth. Inform them that the higher sun situation has been clarified." "Yes, sir." The XO hesitated. "If I may, Admiral, do you think they understand now, not just the higher sun, but all of them?" Wright's gaze remained fixed on the stars beyond the debris field. "No, Commander, they understand fear, they understand consequence, but they don't understand us." He turned, the weight of humanity's dual nature evident in his eyes. "And pray they never have to." The Retribution's engines hummed to life, pushing the massive vessel away from the graveyard of AI ships. Soon they would return to Earth, to celebrations and medals and speeches about peace. And Admiral Wright would smile and accept the accolades, playing the role of the civilized diplomat, the reasonable military man, all the while knowing that beneath humanity's veneer of civilization lay the truth that had saved them countless times. They were predators playing at being shepherds. The higher sun had learned that lesson today. The rest of the galaxy would do well to remember it. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Video shares, memberships, and super thanks help the channel grow as well, so feel free to partner with this channel in that way as we grow. With that all said, thank you again for listening to the story, and thank you for your time. On the left side of your screen are some videos I think you might be interested in. I hope to see you in the next one.